called Being Rich. The title would be called, if it, like I said, if it was a title to it, it'd be, of today's message is Being Rich Towards God. Being rich towards God. And it's when I really look at it, it's like when I seen this, it made me pause and stop for a second. If you would, and if you can, turn it to Luke 12. We're gonna start at 15 and we're gonna end at 21. Being rich towards God. And Luke 12 and 15, Jesus started to speak about a parable at this time, and he spoke and he said unto them, take heed and beware of covetousness, for a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of things which he possesseth. And he spake a parable unto them, saying, the ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, what shall I do? Because I have no room where to bestow my fruits. Now I want you to pay attention to that word, my fruits. The fruits, that word fruits right there as well as, like he said, abundance of the things which he possesseth. And he said, this will I do. I will put down my barns and build greater, and there will I bestow all my fruits and all my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said unto him, thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then who shall these things be which thou hast provided? Then the last one is where we coming in with, like I said, if there was a title for this message today. So is he that loveth treasures, that layeth up treasures for himself, and is not rich towards God. Now, first off, when I told you one thing I wanted you to remember is he said he had abundance of the things which he possesseth. And I came from a lifestyle to where that's in a culture that taught me that possessions was everything. You got a nice car, you got a nice chain around your neck, you got a nice house, you got all of these nice things, these possessions. And I didn't realize that the more things that I thought that I possessed, the more I became possessed by them. We become possessed. You don't truly possess anything in this world, because everything that you have, if you didn't build that house from scratch, that was somebody else's before it was yours. And if you didn't buy that car brand new, it was somebody else's before it was yours. And even if you bought that car and it was brand new, later on, that car and that possession is going to outlive you. Someone else is going to possess everything that you feel like you possess. Everything that we have in this earth is borrowed. Even the breath that we breathe, it shall return back to its maker. Everything that we have that we think that we possess, but we spend our entire life, we spend most of our lives trying to possess things. We trying to obtain things all throughout life. This new phone came out. Let me go get this new phone because I need this new phone. Then you end up, that phone is probably the phone that you did that with 5 years ago is probably in the bottom of your drawer somewhere, or it's gone somewhere, or you don't even remember it. A lot of us probably don't even remember some of the first things that we bought. You may remember the first car, but after that, you don't remember that second car. But when it was time for you to get it, you were stressing to get it. And then if you buying it and you have a lease on this vehicle, then now you have to make the money to pay for this vehicle. Now you have to make the money to pay for that possession, that condo, that house, on the mortgage and whatever else it is. So it's like the possessions start to possess you. Now you have to keep up with the possession that you call yourself possessing. And it's like we spend so much. That man that he spoke about in this parable is most of us in this world. We sit back and we make plans for tomorrow. We make plans for 5 years from now. We make plans way ahead of time. Oh, I'm going to plan this, and I'm going to make sure that my kid go to college. And I'm going to make sure that when I die, I'm going to leave my kid this. And I'm going to leave my kid these things. And, I want to make sure that they have all of this stuff set up for them. As if we know once we pass, what's going to happen with those things. Now I want to go to Ecclesiastes. Let's go to Ecclesiastes. And it was something that, you know, I've been reading in the book of Ecclesiastes lately, and it just like really made me, I had to, once I went to Luke 12 and I looked at that parable that Jesus was speaking about, and I looked at this and I went back into Ecclesiastes, it kind of brought things together, and it kind of like, it made me think even more about possessions. And do we actually own anything? Do you actually own it if you can't keep it forever? There is something that you have that God has given you that you will own forever. It is something that he's given you, and that's a gift. It's a gift of everlasting life. You can possess that, and you can possess it in the place that I want. I want to go to a place to where, you know, after this, because there is something after this. Even in science, science does everything to try to make you believe that there is no God, only to prove that there is a God. The first law of thermodynamics is that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only be transferred. So I know that when this energy that's inside of me, when I die in this physical form, that this energy will be transferred to somewhere. Now, where it's going to be transferred is going to be depending on where I walk and the way that I walk. And if I'm focusing on the wrong possessions. Now, when we go into this, we're going to go to, let's start at Ecclesiastes. Let's start at Ecclesiastes. We're going to start at 2 and 15. 2 and 15. And it's like Solomon was like, what we know about Solomon, we know that he had everything. He got everything that he, like he said, he said in one place in here, everything that he's seen, he denied himself nothing. I denied myself nothing of what my eyes or what my heart desired. He said, anything that I laid my eyes on that I wanted, I got. So he went after the possessions. And it was something that he found out after he worked so hard to go get these things. And in 2 and 15, he says, then said I in my heart, as it happeneth to the fool, so it happeneth even to me. And why was I then more wise? Then I said in my heart, that this also is vanity, for there is no remembrance of the wise more than the fool forever. Seeing that which now is in the days to come shall all be forgotten. And how dieth the wise man? As the fool. Therefore I hated life, because the work that is wrought under the sun is grievous unto me, for all is vanity and vexation of spirit. Yea, I hated all my labor which I have taken under the sun, because I should leave it unto the man that shall be after me. And who knoweth whether he shall be a wise man or a fool? Yet shall he have rule over all my labor wherein I have labored, and wherein I have showed myself wise under the sun. This also is vanity. I'll stop right there before we go forward. Now, we work, like I just said earlier, we work so hard to try to leave a legacy, to try to leave something, possession, I mean, in the form of a possession for our children. We leave them money, we leave them houses, we leave them cars. But I done been to so many different funerals, and I watched families be torn apart over possessions, over something that will be passed from your hands to the next hands, to the next hands, and you shall never truly possess it. You are just borrowing it for a time. There are whole families that are broken up over these same things that we are talking about. And what he's saying right here, what Solomon is saying right here, he said, who knows what that person is going to do with it? If this person is going to be a fool or he's going to be wise. We can sit back and we can try to give all the worldly knowledge that we can to our children. But if we do not give them God, if we do not give them the word of God, if we do not give them something substantial to hold on outside of what this world is giving them, then how do we know that these children are going to do what you work all your life to get this house? And then all of a sudden your kid get it, and he got this bright idea, and he goes sell it like the prodigal son. The prodigal son, you might give it to somebody that's like how the son was when he went off and he was like, Dad, just give me my inheritance now. Now, if we give it to that person, he messed it all off. So what you worked all your life, we work all our lives, and it gets to the point to where I remember I was walking my dog one day. And the dog went up on the grass, and the man said, get your dog off my grass. Get your dog off my grass. And I was like, I got the dog off the grass and everything. Don't let your dog use it on my grass or whatnot. And I thought about it at that time, like, this was your grass, this your grass right now, but this was somebody else's before you, and it's gonna be somebody else's after you. It's like he was so mad about the dog stepping on his grass, and it's like, this is the point of what I'm trying to make. It's like the possession is starting to possess you. It's bringing you outside of your character. You ready to die for something that's not truly yours. You don't own it because if you owned it, then you're gonna take it to the grave with you. And it's gonna come back to you like what them Egyptians did. And they buried all their treasures with them, only for us to go into museums and see the treasures right there. So we know they didn't take it to heaven with them. We know that wherever they went, it's not there with them because we got it here. We're able to go into the museum and see it inside of a museum. It's like, how long do we work? Some of us work 20, 30 years to retire, and and you work. While you're working, you paying this mortgage, and while you're working, you paying for college for your children, and while you're working, you paying for your car notes, and you're paying for your life insurance, and you paying for all of these things. And most of them, when you look at it, they're possessions, and these possessions become to possess you because now you're stressed out because you got that light bill to pay. You stressed out because you got to pay that mortgage. You stressed out because you got to pay that car lease. You stressed out because you got all of these things that you have to pay on, these possessions. So you are not possessing anything. The possession is possessing you. And it like what we were just reading right now, it's like, how do you know what's going to happen to these things after you are gone? And why does it stress us out so much while we're in possession of them for the time periods that we are in possession of them? Because they're not yours. If they were truly yours, like I said, then it's coming with us. And I know that for all of us that are saved, and all of us that are saved, we know that there's something different up there. I don't think I'm gonna need this when the streets are paved to gold and there's mansions up there. I don't want to bring my house. The house I live in ain't no mansion. So if there's a mansion in this and the streets is gold, then I don't want to take this with me. I don't want to take none of these things with me. But let me see, we're going to move a little bit forward. Well, matter of fact, let's go back first. Let's go to Ecclesiastes 1:13. 1:13, and he says, and I gave my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all things that are done under heaven. I like how he said that, under heaven. Because this world we under heaven. We ain't nowhere close to what heaven is going to be right now. We're not there. We're not in heaven right now. This sore travail God giveth to the sons of man to be exercised therewith. Now, when you think about exercise, you got to look at it. I remember when I used to go to the gym, and I used to I get on the weights. And I used to get off the weights or whatever, and I get off the bench, and I sit there for a second, and I look around, and I watch the people that are in the gym. And I don't know if any of you ever seen this, but it'll be some dudes that come up in there, and they'll be in the gym. And the moment that they got up off the weight, they'll be lifting it. You watch them do one set, put it up on the bar, and they walk over to the mirror, and they check themselves out. Like, let me see if there's some results there, You don't get results the moment you doing that set. You're not gonna see the difference the moment that you just did. I'm gonna do a push-up, and right after I do the push-up, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna check my muscle so I could see if I done got buff from that one set of push-ups or that one bench press that I just did. Now all of a sudden I'm buff. Then they go to the next thing, and they'll do a couple of curls, and now they want to check out that muscle. And you look at it, and they looking at it, and I be sitting there and I'm looking like, man, if you could get results that easy, So when I'm looking at this, it brought that into mind where he says to be exercised therewith. To be exercised therewith. I've been guilty of it myself. Before. I have, I got up and looked at it. Let me check it out real quick. I knew I wasn't going to see nothing, but maybe it was going to help me to get my neck set in as well. But when I seen that, where he said the sons of man to be exercised therewith, then he also said it again. He says it again in when you move forward and into 3, if we go to 3 in Ecclesiastes 3:10, he said, I have seen the travail which God hath given to the sons of man to be exercised in it. But in that same chapter, he talks about a time. And if you go to 3:1, he says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the sun. And when I was reading it, you know, we all know, I'm pretty sure we done heard it, we done seen it in movies. There's a time to kill, a time to be, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to pluck. But you know, it's a time to kill and a time to heal. We see all of these things, and you have to start looking at it. Even the possessions, even the things that you have, you're being exercised. You're being exercised therewith, like what Solomon was talking about right there. We're being exercised by the things when God gives you something, because it's a gift. If you have a luxury to have a roof over your head, that is a gift from God. For all good things flow from above, and we know that. If you're able to have a car and you're not walking and don't have to get on the bus, that is a gift from God. But what you do with these gifts, whether you have money, whether you have whatever it is, what you do with those gifts is your exercise. You're not going to see the results if you walk up and you start giving away things, and you give away charity, or you let somebody come stay at your house that you have in that extra room that nobody sleeps in, or whatever else it is. But you being exercised, your faith is being exercised when someone comes on your grass with the dog, like what I said, and you able to just be like, man, let them be. You know what I'm saying? It's like these are all things that you are being exercised with in life, in all of these situations, with your possessions, with the way that you are, with your demeanor, with the way that you carry yourself in life, all the way into the end. It's an exercise. And just like the exercise that you do in the gym, if you're doing push-ups or you doing pull-ups or you doing sit-ups, you're not going to see the results right then. You're not going to see the results the moment that you get up from it, the moment that you did that good thing that you did, the moment that you had that patience with that person that you was talking to. You know what I'm saying? When you knew that, okay, or that person that you had to forgive, even though you didn't want to forgive this person, and you were in that presence, and you still had to be humble with this person and still be able to be forgiven with this person, even though it's like he said, 70 times 7, that person probably done did 70 times 7 things to you, but you still had to be exercised in that moment. You still had to be exercised in all of the things that you are going through, and all of it is seasonal, and there's a purpose to it, because God says in his word that for everything, every idle word that you speak, for everything that you do, you will be judged for it, whether it be good or whether it will be bad. So we have to start thinking about all of the things that we are being exercised with throughout the day. You know, it's not a day goes by that something doesn't come and approach me, or something comes up to where I'm in traffic, or just like today, like I said, when the man came down there and he was naked in front of those girls, I could have reacted and been like, hey, and yelled and screamed or did whatever it is, but that was being exercised in that moment. We're all being exercised, and we are being exercised by these possessions, man, especially in this world. And I'm getting back to that again, because in this world right now, in this world of possessions, where that's what everything is, in our younger years, we sit back and we try to accumulate all of these things, so that when we're older, like that man said in Luke 12, let's go back to that again. I want to read back over that again. We do all of these things to get these possessions. And I'm going to start at Luke 12:17. And he thought within himself, saying, what shall I do? Because I have no room where to bestow my fruits. Remember, I told you to pay attention to that word fruits as well. And he said, this will I do. I will put down my barns and build greater, and there will I bestow all my fruits. There we go again with that fruits, and my goods. And I will say to my soul, so thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said unto him, thou fool, this night thou soul shall be required of thee. Then who shall these things be which thou hast provided? So is he that layeth up treasures for himself, and is not rich towards God. How do we be rich towards God? How are we rich? How can we truly be rich towards God? Let's go to Galatians 5. Galatians 5:20. We're going to start at 22. And remember that word, that fruit word that we were just talking about as well. Remember that fruit word, because he kept saying about his fruit. And even in Ecclesiastes, we read about those fruit. About the fruit that he was talking about. He said let's go back. So because I want to read that. There will I bestow all my fruits and my goods, is what he said. And all of the fruits that he talked about were possessions, were things that he had, things that he wanted to store up here in this world. But when God talk about fruits, and we look at the fruits that we're supposed to have, there's something totally different. So we're going to start at 22. Let's start at 21. No, 22. Let's start at 22. I apologize about that, brothers. But the fruit of the Spirit. Now, you see that? He said the fruit of the Spirit. Now, when the man was talking about it in Luke 12, he was talking about the fruits of this world. He was talking about things that he had. He was talking about riches inside of this world. He was talking about getting whole barn houses and building up and bestowing his fruit and putting his fruit in them barns and all of that. Those were all possessions. Those were all things that will pass away. They all have an expiration. Most of that have an expiration date on it. And if it don't have an expiration date on it, then you have an expiration date on yourself. We have expiration dates as far as this flesh is concerned. And right here he says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such things there is no law. So when I see that and he says, and is not rich towards God, how do we stay rich towards God? We stay rich towards God by walking in the fruit of the Spirit, man. That is a possession that, like he said, there is no law against. It's in his words. This is God. All scripture is God breathed. So the way that we stay rich toward God is by us walking in the Spirit, the fruit of the Spirit, the fruit of the Spirit. Now, the fruits of our labor, we should be laboring in these things. We should be laboring in love. We should be laboring in peace. We should be laboring in joy. We should be laboring in long suffering, in gentleness, in goodness, in faith, in meekness, in temperance. Like he says, against such things, there is no law. Let me go a little further now. Now, even in James, if we go to James, we'll start at James 1 and 9. James 1 and 1. Starting at 9, we're going to end at 12. Let the brother of low degree rejoice in that he is exalted, but let the rich in that he is made low, because as the flower of the grass, he shall pass away. For the sun is no sooner risen with the burning heat, but it withereth the grass, and the flower thereof falleth, and the grace of the fashion of it perisheth. So also shall the rich man fade away in his ways. Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him. Now, if we're walking in the Spirit, we have a richness. We have something, we possess something that can't be taken away from us. God said that he has something everlasting for us. He has an everlasting life for us. We have mansions. We have all of the things that we think, you look at all of the things that we possess here. And if this is something, and we put so much value on that, could you imagine the possessions that God has stored up for those who can resist? That's going to be saved all the way. I mean, that's going to get all the way through all of these temptations. That's going to make it through everything that you have been that you've been tested with, that you've been exercised with, everything that you've been exercised with. Imagine what's going to happen with those possessions. They don't go nowhere. Everything that we have right here, everything that we're facing right now, like I said, you can sit back. We can try to like I love my children. I'm not gonna lie, I love my children. And I of course I want to leave them something. I want to leave them something, but what they do with it, I have no say over that. I have no say over, no matter what it is. My life insurance policy, I could leave them some money, but they may spend it up in one swoop. The house that we leave them, they may sell that. If you have any cars or anything else when you leave, they may sell that. But Solomon also said that we're supposed to take pleasure. We're supposed to take pleasure in what it is that the work that God has given us. And if you go to Ecclesiastes 12 and 13 and 14, it says in 13, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. I want to make sure that when God brings my works that I've been exercised with, all of the possessions and everything else, that I held more value to God and his word, that I held more value of being able to walk into the spirit than I did on the monetary things of this life, of these possessions, of these objects, of all of these things that, you know, that are placed in front of us, especially in this world that we live in, man. Like, for a long time, I didn't care about nothing but the possessions. I didn't care nothing about, you know, I thought that in my mind, I thought that was going to make me feel like a man, or that was going to make me feel like a bigger person. Because the world that we live in, we're facing, like what he was talking about earlier, what Elder Odom said earlier, like, it's so much demonic stuff in this world right now, man. And it's teaching selfishness. It's teaching selfishness. It's teaching, you know, like, it's better for you to have something, or it's better it happen. You know, if you got all of these things and all of this stuff, then look at me, look what I have, instead of look what I can do with what I have to help people. People are just storing up all of these things into their barns. People are storing up all of these things and all of this money and all of this stuff into a bank. It was one of these millionaires. What's the guy's name that made the iPhone? I think his name is Steve Jobs. I think his name was Steve Jobs. And he when he died, he was getting this big old boat. He had this big old boat that he was getting made. Like, I mean, this huge boat that he was getting made. And it just reminded me of what God said. Like, he went and bought these possessions only for him never to even enjoy them. You got so many people that are walking through life. And I know people, especially in this entertainment industry that I'm in. I know people that own houses that they haven't even been in but twice. And they got a whole house just sitting there. Some of them don't even have kids. They don't even have nothing. It's just, you just gotta, oh, this is my vacation home, or this is just a home that I go to. But it's like, to them, it's like the status is more than helping somebody out or being there for somebody. Just to say I got it, just to say I have it. And I was guilty of that for a long time myself. I used to buy things just to say that I have it. I remember I wanted this car so bad. I wanted to have lowriders and stuff, because I grew up and I seen everybody having lowriders. And it was just this thing that in my mind, I thought that once I got these objects, that it was going to make me happy. That if I had a certain amount of money, it was going to make me happy and I was going to feel complete, or I was going to somehow fill this void that I had in my life, only to get those things and hate the very things that I possessed. I ended up getting all of the things that they told me in that lifestyle. Okay, if you got this nice spot, then you on top. You got the nice girls. Now, I ain't say girl or woman or wife that you know that we know that we are going to get blessed with. You know, if it's a blessing to have a wife, it's a blessing to have someone near. You'll help me. It's a blessing. You know, that's something that's ordained from God. But I was having girls. I had all of these different things that the world said it was cool with. Like, go get all of these things. Go, I had the possessions. I had, businesses in different states. I had money coming in from all of these different places. And I thought that I was somebody I thought that I would be somebody once I had these things, only to get them, and probably was the most stressed out that I've ever been in my life. I got all of these things. I had the lowriders, I had the jewelry, I had the girls in all these different states. I had businesses in different states, and I was just traveling, and I was getting on all of these planes. And every time I did something, I felt worse. The more possessions that I possessed, the more I felt possessed by them. The more I realized that, like, I started to question myself, like, what am I doing? If you doing something and you grabbing things in this world and it's making you question yourself and question it, like, what am I doing? Then you're not doing something right. You don't have your hands on something that's being blessed if you have to question it. If you got to question it, then more than likely it's something you're possessing, something that's actually possessing you, man. I got all of these things. And then one day I went to the top of the building. I had the condo, and I had I had a pool and a jacuzzi on the roof at the condos or whatever. It was a movie theater in these condos. It was all of these things that I thought would make me happy. And I was in there. I mean, I was miserable one day, and I went out on the balcony, and it was just like the devil was telling me, just like, throw yourself off. And I couldn't understand, like, what? I'm like, man, let me get down from here. And I went and I got on the elevator, because I didn't even want to, before, I loved to be in these tall buildings. I stayed in the Broadway Palace Apartments downtown LA. And, I used to love to just go at the top on the helicopter pad and just overview and overlook the city. And I couldn't even walk up there no more, man. I get up there, and every time I got up there, it was like a voice in my head that was saying, like, just throw yourself off, like, just kill yourself. And I couldn't understand, like, hold on, I got a condo, I got the cars, I got all of the things that the world told me that this is what success is. And I got on the elevator and I went down, and I was miserable. I remember this day. I don't think I will ever forget this day, unless God say, hey, you're going to have dementia and you're going to lose your mind or something. But that's something that resonates with me in my walk every day now. Because I came down off this elevator and I walked through the lobby, and these big old chandeliers, and they had a grand piano and marble floors and marble walls and all of this stuff that I'm looking at. I got a pocket full of money, got money in the bank. I got my mom taking care of everybody in my family. I'm doing all of these things. And I walk outside the door, and I'm so miserable. I don't know what I do now, because the devil had a hold of me. I allowed the devil to have a stronghold on me. So I walked outside, because I didn't want to be in my apartment, because my apartment was so high up, and my mind was telling me to just jump out a window or jump off the helicopter pad, or, all of this crazy stuff. So I didn't want to be up high. I just was like, man, let me get down low. Let me get down low. And I walked out. And when I walked out on the street, I seen a transient with a basket, and he was just singing. And he had this huge smile on his face. And I mean, he was happy. I mean, you can just feel the joy coming off this person. And I'm walking out of this, this multi-million-dollar complex, this big old building with all of the amenities, the pools, the jacuzzi, the saunas, the weight rooms, the basketball courts, the movie theaters, all of these things. And I walked out, and it was someone who was a transient, and he was so happy. And he was just singing. He was singing real loud. They was just telling him to shut up and everything else, and he didn't hear nothing they were saying. And when he walked past, I thought to myself, I did all of these things to have all of these possessions because I thought it was going to make me happy, only to walk out of the same building that I was in and run into a transient that was walking up the street that was more happy than me. We have to start thinking, man. We have to start remembering that no matter what you possess is temporal. All of this stuff that we have in this life, everything, even the breath, the body that you are in, all of it. This is not our heavenly body. This is not our final possession. Our final possession is being reunited with God if we and being glorified at the end of this journey, man. For us to transition to a higher purpose, to a higher calling, to something, to be reunited with our Father, man. These possessions that we have on this earth, do not let them do not allow it to possess you so much that you lose the greatest possession that was given to you, and that's the Holy Spirit, man. We can't grieve the Holy Spirit with all of these things. Be ye not of the world. The more that we conform ourselves to this world, the more that we try to save up and store up all of this stuff in our barns, man. But we don't know what's going to happen with it, man. How many funerals do we have to go to when we see all of these families being broke up by these possessions before we realize that that's not the gift that we want to leave someone. We want to leave them with the gift of the word. We want to leave them with seeing an example of who we are and the way that we walked in the Spirit, to where that is something that they inherit. Let them inherit that. Let your children inherit that from you. Let them inherit the dedication that you have to God. Let that be your legacy. The way that you walk with God, not your possessions, not what you owned, not all of the objects. We need to start understanding that everything, like he said right there, I'm gonna end it with this in Ecclesiastes 12:14. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. Do not let the possessions possess you, but possess that spirit and keep that spirit that God has given you, and walk in the fruits. If there's going to be any fruit that you need to be like happy and you know what I'm saying, and basically feeling exalted with, let it be the fruits of the Spirit, man. Because you know what I'm saying, in situations, you're going to be in situations, and there are probably a few people in here that have been in situations like what I said. You went out and you want to possess something in this world. And I'm pretty sure everybody in here has had that experience, to where you went and you got something and you couldn't wait to get this thing, only to get it. And later on, it just sat there. You didn't even want it no more, or you didn't even care about it no more. That car you got, you used to wash it every day. Now now somebody walk past it and they write "wash me" on the back of your window because you didn't just let the dust just get all up on it.